The fact is, the current head of the Kiev regime is becoming a toxic figure for Ukraine's armed forces because he issues absurd orders that are not driven by military considerations, but by political ones. And it's unclear what they are even based on. This is leading to unjustifiably high losses, if not enormous or even catastrophic losses, for the Ukrainian army. He is also becoming toxic to society as a whole. I believe this is reflected in today's vote in the Rada on extending his powers. Finally, he has cornered himself with his decree banning negotiations with the Russian Federation on a peace deal, effectively shutting down those talks. The issue here is that he is avoiding negotiations. Why? Because if negotiations begin sooner or later, and most likely quite quickly, it will lead to the necessity of lifting martial law. And as soon as that happens, elections will have to be held. There will be no grounds to postpone elections anymore because, right now, they are not being held under the pretext of martial law. But if negotiations start and the quick cancellation of martial law follows, elections will have to take place immediately, and this presents a serious problem for the current head of the regime. Because in reality, it doesn't matter whether his approval rating is 4% or something else. What matters is that, according to our data, which is objective, his rating is exactly half that of his closest potential political rival. That would be Mr. Zaluzhny, the former commander of Ukraine's armed forces, who has been sent into exile in London. His approval rating is twice as high. And if we add to this the potential support that this candidate could receive from other political figures, including former prime ministers or former presidents, then the current head of the regime has absolutely no chance of winning an election. His chances are zero. Unless, of course, the results are blatantly rigged. But even that would be bad for him because it would be too obvious. So, he is a factor in the deterioration of the army, society, and the state itself. And the current US President, Trump, surely understands this and is pushing him toward elections. As I see it, Trump wants to improve the political situation in Ukraine, consolidate society, and create conditions for the survival of the Ukrainian state. And overall, this is not so much a benefit to Russia. After all, our conflict is with the current regime, but rather a benefit to Ukraine itself. Besides everything else, the current US president has announced that he wants to achieve peace. As a matter of fact, so do we, and as soon as possible. However, the current head of the regime stands in the way of achieving this goal. This, in my view, explains the position of the US president. And it is not related to serving Russian interests. Rather, it is likely in the interests of Ukraine, of the Ukrainian state, aiming to preserve its statehood. We have nothing against that either. Although, of course, we would like this territory not to be used as a staging ground for attacks on the Russian Federation, not to be used as a hostile base against us, but ultimately to become a friendly neighboring state.
Every day we hear a wide range of statements from Trump. You have met with him multiple times, and you recently had a phone conversation with him. Does he act based on emotions?
Of course not. Naturally, the current head of the Kiev regime gives him reasons to display emotions. But from what I have just said, a different picture emerges. His actions are based not on emotions, but on cold calculation, on a rational approach to the current situation. Paradoxically, to be honest, we were actually interested in him staying in